The call came at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, the kind of hour when phones only ring for emergencies or death. I was already awake, reviewing patient charts in my small office at Johns Hopkins, where I'd finally landed a fellowship in nephrology after 10 years of clawing my way through medical school. Ironic, really, becoming a kidney specialist when my own family had ripped away my future with surgical precision. Amelia, my mother's voice crackled through the speaker, tinged with a desperation I hadn't heard since the day she'd called to tell me about my college fund. It's your father. We're at Presbyterian General. His kidneys are failing. I set down my coffee, noting with clinical detachment how steady my hands remained. How long has he been in renal failure? 6 months. Maybe longer. He didn't want to worry you. Didn't want to worry me. The same man who hadn't worried about me when he'd emptied my college account. $75,000 saved since birth by my grandmother, and handed it to my cousin Derek because, as they'd explained with breathtaking casualness, Derek has more potential. He's going to be an engineer. You're just going to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher, Mom, I said quietly. I'm a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, which you'd know if you'd attended my graduation. Any of them. Silence stretched between us, filled with 10 years of missed birthdays, ignored achievements, and the kind of distance that grows when parents choose favorites and stick to their choice even when proven catastrophically wrong. Will you come? She finally asked. I'll review his case, I said, already knowing what I'd find. Send me his medical records. I hung up before she could respond, before the guilt could creep in, before I could remember being 18 and crying in my guidance counselor's office, holding acceptance letters to schools I couldn't afford because my future had been given to someone with more potential. The files arrived within an hour. End-stage renal disease, just as I'd expected. My father, Thomas Winters, age 58, successful real estate developer who'd preached financial responsibility while stealing from his daughter's future. Hypertension, diabetes poorly managed, kidney function at 12%. Without dialysis or a transplant, he had maybe 6 months. I knew what came next before my phone rang again. The doctors say family members are the best chance for a match, Mom said without preamble. Your brother can't, his diabetes rules him out. But you want me to get tested, I finished. You're our only hope, Amelia. Derek would, but he's not a blood relative. How is Derek? I interrupted, the name bitter on my tongue. Still engineering. The pause told me everything. He's between jobs right now. Between jobs. I laughed short and sharp. For how long? That's not important right now. 5 years? 6. How long has the golden boy with all that potential been between jobs, Mom? Amelia, please. This isn't about Derek. Isn't it? I stood pacing my small office, past diplomas that had cost me everything. It's always been about Derek. My college fund went to Derek. My parents' attention went to Derek. Every family gathering I missed because I was working 3 jobs to pay for school, those went to Derek too. We made a mistake. You made a choice. A deliberate, calculated choice. You looked at your daughter and decided she wasn't worth investing in. Now you want me to literally give a piece of myself to save the man who stole my future. He's your father. He's a stranger who shares my DNA, I corrected. I haven't seen him in 3 years. Haven't had a real conversation with him in 5. You both made it clear where I ranked in the family hierarchy. I could hear her crying now, soft sobs that might have moved me once. Before I'd spent nights studying in 24-hour diners because I couldn't afford proper housing. Before I'd fainted during rounds from malnutrition because textbooks came before food. Before I'd learned that family was just a word, not a guarantee of love or support. I'll get tested, I said finally, watching dawn break over Baltimore. But only because there's a patient who needs help. Not because he's my father. Not because you asked. Because it's what doctors do. The test results came back within a week. Perfect match, of course. The universe had always had a twisted sense of humor when it came to my family. I drove to Presbyterian General on my day off, white coat folded in my bag, ID badge clipped to my collar. The hospital where I'd once volunteered, desperate for any medical experience that might strengthen my applications. Where I'd watched real doctors save lives and promised myself I'd be one of them, no matter what it cost. My parents looked older, smaller, diminished by the sterile hospital lighting. Dad was hooked to a dialysis machine, his skin the yellowish gray of chronic kidney disease. Mom sat beside him, clutching his hand like she could anchor him to life through sheer will. Amelia. Dad's voice was weak, But his eyes, those sharp blue eyes that had once looked through me like I was invisible, tracked my movement. You came. Dr. Winters, I corrected, pulling up his chart on the tablet. I'm here as a physician consulting on your case. Amelia, please, Mom started. Your GFR is at 11%, I continued, scrolling through lab results. Creatinine at 5.8. You're barely producing urine. Without intervention, you're looking at complete renal failure within 3 to 4 months. The doctors explained, Dad said. They say a transplant is my best option. It's your only option, I clarified. Dialysis is keeping you alive, but it's not a long-term solution at your age with your comorbidities. And you're a match. His eyes searched mine, looking for something. Forgiveness, maybe, or the daughter he'd written off a decade ago. Perfect match, they said. I am. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken history. Finally, Mom burst out. So you'll do it? You'll save him? I set down the tablet, meeting their eyes for the first time. Really looking at them. At the people who'd raised me for 18 years, then abandoned me the moment I became inconvenient. Tell me about Derek, I said instead. What happened to all that engineering potential? They exchanged glances. Mom spoke first. He struggled in school. The engineering program was harder than expected. He dropped out, Dad added quietly. Second year. And the $75,000? My college fund that was supposed to launch his brilliant career. More silence. More glances. Gone, Mom whispered. Tuition, living expenses, the car we bought him so he could commute. The car. I laughed, genuinely amused. I took 3 buses to get to my jobs. 2 hours each way. But Derek needed a car. You thought I didn't matter, I said simply. You looked at your daughter, who'd worked her ass off for a 4.0 GPA, who'd volunteered at hospitals and shadowed doctors and dreamed of medical school since she was 12, and you decided I wasn't worth investing in. Because Derek was a man. Because engineering seemed more impressive than teaching. Because you never bothered to ask what I actually wanted to be. We were wrong, Dad said, the words seemingly dragged from him. We see that now. Do you? I pulled out my phone, showing them photo after photo. This is me graduating summa cum laude from state school, where I worked 3 jobs to afford tuition. This is me getting into medical school. Not my first choice, because I couldn't afford to apply broadly. This is me at my residency match, internal medicine at Cleveland Clinic. This is my fellowship acceptance at Johns Hopkins. This is me being named chief fellow. This is my published research on kidney disease in underserved populations. Each photo was a milestone they'd missed, a moment where parents should have been proud, present, celebrating. Instead, I'd stood alone or with the found family of fellow struggling students who understood that sometimes biology doesn't guarantee love. This is what you missed, I continued. This is what you decided wasn't worth $75,000. This is what you thought had less potential than Derek's engineering degree that never materialized. We're proud of you, Mom said weakly. No. I shook my head. You're desperate. There's a difference. You're proud of what I can do for you now, not who I fought to become despite you. So you won't help? Dad's voice cracked. You'll let me die to prove a point? I'm not proving a point. I stood, gathering my things. I'm establishing boundaries. Something I should have done years ago. Amelia, please. I'll donate, I said, watching hope bloom on their faces. But not to you. The hope shattered. What? There's a 10-year-old girl in pediatric nephrology. Maria Gonzalez. Single mother, 2 other kids, works 3 jobs just like I did. Can't afford to miss work for dialysis appointments. She's been waiting for a kidney for 2 years. I pulled up Maria's photo on my phone. Bright eyes, gap-toothed smile, holding a teddy bear bigger than she was. She has potential. Real potential. The kind that deserves investment. But I'm your father, Dad whispered. And she's someone's daughter. Someone who won't give up on her, who won't trade her future for someone else's empty promises. I moved toward the door, then paused. You taught me something valuable 10 years ago. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. You taught me that potential isn't about gender or career paths. It's about determination. And you taught me that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is exactly what they did for you. Which is? Mom asked, tears streaming. Nothing. I met their eyes one last time. I'm giving my kidney to someone with more potential. Just like you gave my college fund to someone with more potential. Seems fair, doesn't it? I left them there, in that sterile room with its beeping machines and antiseptic smell. Left them to contemplate a future without easy solutions, without family bailouts, without the daughter they'd written off coming to save the day. The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Maria's mother cried when I met her, clutching my hands and speaking rapid Spanish that I understood thanks to years of serving immigrant communities during my training. She promised to pay me back somehow, someday. No need, I told her. Just make sure Maria knows she has potential. Real potential. And that someone believed in her enough to invest in her future. The day of the surgery, I got one last call from my mother. I almost didn't answer, but something, maybe the part of me that still remembered being loved, before Derek came to live with us, before potential was measured in chromosomes and career stereotypes, made me pick up. Derek wants to get tested, she said without preamble, to see if he's a match for your father. Good for Derek. He's not. We already checked. You were our only hope. No, I corrected gently. I was your only biological hope. There are donor lists. Other options. The same options available to families who don't have doctor-daughters to guilt into submission. He could die waiting. He could. Or he could get lucky. Or he could have been a better father who didn't need to rely on the child he abandoned. I paused, hearing Maria's laughter from the next room where she was playing with a therapy dog. I have to go, Mom. My patient is waiting. Your patient? Not your father. My father made his choice 10 years ago. He chose Derek. He chose potential that never panned out over achievement that was already manifesting. He chose favoritism over fairness. Now I'm making my choice. And I choose Maria. I hung up and went to prep for surgery, changing into scrubs and reviewing the procedure one last time. In a few hours, I'd give a piece of myself to save a child whose family saw her potential, believed in her future, invested in her life with everything they had. It seemed only fitting. After all, I'd become a doctor despite my parents, not because of them. I'd learned to save lives after they'd tried to destroy mine. And now I'd save the life that mattered, not to make a point, not for revenge, but because sometimes the best family is the one you choose. The anesthesia took hold, and my last thought was of Maria, waking up to a future full of possibility. A future no one could steal from her. A future with real potential.